by asking people to think in terms of life without having to sell the house insurance or life without having to give up college insurance. Find out how the benefits of life insurance can live on for your family. Call State Farm Agent Joe Amlani in Redlands at 909-894-4619 and put the life back into life insurance.
You're listening to an encore presentation of this program, KCAA, the Inland Talk Express.
The views of the following show are not necessarily the views of broadcast management or its owner, Fred Lundgren. But then again, the views of broadcast management are, well, different. And now it's time for On the Mark Live with host Mark Westwood. Finally, a show about KCAA. Hot topics, a little locomotion, current events, news, laugh, reviews, and a little irreverence. And you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, 3, 2, 1, Mark
Westwood. Yes, that's right. Mark Westwood here on the radio. Hey, good Wednesday afternoon to you, right in the middle of the week. It's just a little bit after 4 o'clock on 1050 AM, 106.5 and 102.3. Thank you for joining us for On the Mark. And today's a great day, and we've got some great guests on. First of all, we'll start off with Gigi Hanna, the future mayor of San Bernardino, I think. And after that, we'll have some lovely ladies from Child Help that will be here talking about the Foster Adopt program and raising funds for that as well. So it's a good program, very worthy. First of all, I have candidates on, political candidates. They're not your typical political interview where I nail them and, that's not what we're doing here. What we're doing is getting to know our political candidates. It's a warm feeling, good feeling kind of thing. I think there's enough negative stuff about political candidates and those people who are elected. I'll leave that to the other people. This, I want to get to know you. I want to get to know who you are as a person. I want to give you enough time to explain yourself. So this show isn't about sound bites. It's about details. And so that's why we invite the guests on. I make no bounds about it. I'm partial. And I'm partial to Gigi Hanna. Gigi Hanna is a friend of mine. And I think she would make an excellent mayor in San Bernardino. I'm going to, if I could, vote for Gigi Hanna, but I'm going to endorse her. And I'm going to interview her, and I'm going to introduce her to you. So with no further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Gigi Hanna. Hello.
Hi, Mark. Thank
First
you for
of all, I have
having
to say your name right. I almost said Gigi. Gigi Hanna. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
And we're glad you're here. And we're glad you're stepping up to the plate. You know, I ran for state assembly a couple of times, and it's a big task. It is a huge task to get a political campaign together. And so you started almost 90 days ago, maybe?
Mid-March.
Mid-March.
Yeah.
So it's been a short period of time.
Yeah.
And you've had a lot to do in that short period of time. It's not like you planned, a couple of years back to run for mayor of San Bernardino.
Not at all.
You were busy being city clerk of San Bernardino for 2 terms. Is that correct?
Absolutely, and it's a full-time job.
That is a full-time job. Now, the city clerk has, like, a budget.
Yes.
And you have to administrate that budget, right?
Yes.
And, tell me about that. How many employees do you have?
Well, when I started, we had 17 people in my department, and it was 2 divisions. There was the administrative division, which is more of the typical city clerk duties, and then we also had business registration. And most of the people were in business registration. There were 12 on that division, and then there was 6 plus myself in administration. And over the course of the bankruptcy and the sort of the reorg at City Hall, they put business registration into finance, which I honestly think is a much clearer a nexus. Mm-hmm. And so I have, at the moment, 5 people, including myself, in my office. So we went down from 17 to 5, and I think it's more of a right-sized organization for what we're actually doing.
Yeah, and your office changed quite a bit in the time you were your tenure as city clerk. We changed it election-wise. They changed it.
Absolutely.
By
It
ballot.
was funny because I took office in March, and they declared fiscal emergency. I believe it was 4 months. The city manager left in 2 months, and then they declared fiscal emergency and then bankruptcy in August. So it changed significantly. And then the new charter that was passed made mine, the city attorney, and the city treasurer's position no longer elected. So we are allowed to serve out our terms, and then each of those will be appointed and be hired like any other city employee.
And so you're in transition right now.
We are. My term would end March of 2020,
Mm-hmm.
and the same way with Gary Sines and David Kennedy's positions.
And then they'll be appointed by someone.
By the city manager.
By the city manager.
Uh-huh.
And what's her name? Andrea Clark? No, Andrea Miller?
Miller.
Miller, that's right. I keep forgetting about her. No, I don't. I'm just kidding. We all know who Andrea Miller is. She was the city administrator. She was here once.
She
and then
actually
came back
was the one that
and-
filed the bankruptcy, and then she left the city, and then came back last year as the assistant city manager, and stepped into that role after Mark
Yeah.
Scott left.
Yeah, I heard something the other day. Somebody asked you a question. I thought, well, you know, they made a statement in a community group. They're talking about couple of different mayoral candidates, and they said, well, one mayoral candidate managed a budget, blah blah blah, and then they said, well, then Gigi Hanna was there during the bankruptcy, and I'm like, well, you didn't get a single vote. You're not on the city council. You don't vote. You're not the mayor. You don't get to vote. You had nothing really to do with that part of it. You just kind of were the cleanup person behind it all.
Absolutely, and I was there during all of the discussions and the wrangling back and forth on what they were going to do. I also was part of the charter review process. I was not a vote on that either, but I did provide staff.
Mm-hmm.
It's typical city clerk functions there. Took notes, kept everybody informed.
So
of
all
what was
that
going on.
influence of what they were doing was by note taking, right? So really, they really can't blame you for any of that or their decisions, or sometimes the length of the period of that bankruptcy was like 5.5 years or something like that.
Yes, it was.
Right.
It was I believe it was the longest municipal in the country's history.
Right. But you really can't blame the city clerk for that, or
I had
or
nothing
people,
to do with
or
it.
nothing to do that, or
And it's really funny because we were a very frugal group anyway, and I did keep lowering my budget
Mm-hmm.
willingly during the bankruptcy, and it got so bad at one point that people were bringing in boxes of pens to give to us because they were worried that we wouldn't have anything to take notes with. And I once went out to my staff and I said, I need a stamp. I was going to mail something and I needed a stamp. And there was a drawer that they kept with uncanceled stamps that they just saved and put in a drawer. So if you needed one, you had to steam it off and use it. And I thought that was a little bit more frugal than I expected.
Yeah, we'll spend 20 minutes stamping out it. Yeah, but you know what? Hey, good for them. If more government people did that, we'd be in better shape. We would be in better shape. So tell me some of the better things about what you're proud of as city clerk and what you did for your city clerk's office in your tenure.
I'm proud of so much. I'm proud of just keeping it together and keeping my staff from not jumping off a ledge because they were
right.
terrified. They had no idea what was going to happen. But there were a few things that I did that I'm particularly proud of. I stepped in and revived the Fine Arts Commission, which had been shuttered basically because the mayor's office didn't have the staffing, didn't want to commit any staff to running it. And I said, you know what, I can do that and make sure that this continues going. And I saw the value in
Good
that.
for you. Yeah.
Thank you. I saw the value in that because the Fine Arts Commission used a very small part of development fees to help fund arts organizations in San Bernardino. They spent $200,000 a year out of I think it was about a $4 million pot of money to give grants to the local arts groups. And I support artists. I was a band geek. I'm a writer by trade. And arts gave San Bernardino, it gives any community a real sense of place and a sense of normalcy. And so I thought that was really important.
Like breathing and walking and eating, that
all
part
need
of
some
your
beauty.
spirit
Yeah.
needs that beauty, and a community needs that as well.
And so some of those arts organizations stayed alive because of that. So I was particularly proud of that.
That is a very good accomplishment.
I did more city clerk type stuff. I put more than 100 years of city documents online. And this kind of goes back to my reporter days when I was always looking for documents. So by putting them online, just your minutes, your agendas, contracts, campaign contributions, people could access that information without ever coming into the city clerk's office and making a request. So if you wanted, at 4 o'clock in the morning, you wanted to know who gave money to whom, you could do that, and I thought that was really important. And we continue. That's a process that's going to continue because we by no means have all of them on. Partially because of the bankruptcy, we had staffing issues. So
that becomes a problem. Yeah. Well, that lends itself to that big word we all love called transparency.
I'm all about transparency. That's one of the reasons I ran for clerk, was I was really concerned about the office staying accountable to the public and I understood transparency, having been an investigative reporter, and I knew what I wanted to see as a reporter and as a resident, and so I knew how I wanted to run that office. So, and that's actually one of the goals and the reasons I'm running for mayor. Is I really like to push a sunshine ordinance. And
now tell us what the sunshine ordinance is by your definition.
Well, it's a government transparency and ethics law, and they're generally
ethics in government. What a concept!
I know.
Integrity. We've lost so much of that these days.
They're generally a citizen-led initiative. So you put together a commission, and they would study the issue. But generally, what people do, and so they come forward with an ordinance that would go to the council for acceptance. But generally, they limit the amount of campaign contributions from those doing business with the city. So you wouldn't be voting on contracts from people that you were receiving campaign contributions from. And so it demands council members and mayor to recuse themselves from those discussions. Sometimes it even limits their ability how soon they can vote on an idea. So I just think that part of San Bernardino's revitalization is going to be based in people being able to trust the government and that they're doing the right thing. And so before we can attract developers,
confidence.
Exactly. Before we can attract developers and investors, people need to be able to trust that the city council and the mayor of the city of San Bernardino are doing the right thing.
They have to know it. They have to be able to trust it. In order for the full faith and confidence, in other words, the government's only as strong as its people.
Absolutely.
And the people getting behind them. So if people aren't behind what you're doing, or they're naysaying what you're doing, or they have this concept that, they're in bankruptcy, they don't pay their bills, why should we pay our bills, that sort of thing. Why should we care if they don't care? That's a very, very bad image, and that's part of the challenge that the next leader of the city of San Bernardino, the next leadership, I should say, because it takes more than one person, is going to have, is to build that community and community pride, so that when people say, I'm from San Bernardino, they don't put their heads down.
I can't believe you'd think people do that.
I'm a 28-year...
I'm so proud of being a resident of San Bernardino.
I was a 28-year resident of San Bernardino, and I'm a San Bernardino grown person. I mean, I'm very much into San Bernardino. I love San Bernardino. But we do know that there has been those times where it's like, okay. And it's been brought about by the leadership and the battling at City Hall and the back and forth and, the former city attorney jumping up or the mayor and, the former mayors, a couple mayors back, the mayor before that, the mayor before that getting into arguments with the city attorney. And, I hope we're going to get past that. Do you think we are?
I think we can. And I think it comes from a willingness to reach out and talk to everybody and to bring everybody into the fold and include them in the conversation. You can't cut out a portion of the population just because you don't like it. And what I've been telling people as I go out and talk on the campaign trail is that we are going to succeed or we are going to fail, and it's going to be together. So let's just work together. And that doesn't mean that we're all going to agree or that I know all the answers, but I'm willing to listen to what other people think and consider the options.
So you're letting, if people want to come down to City Hall, you'll let them actually address an issue by issue at the time of the issue at the meeting?
I think that is the important way to participate. That's what democracy is. It can
classic way. That's always the way it is.
It can be messy. It can mean long meetings, but I think that people have a right to address an issue on the agenda at the time it's heard, and after they've had a chance to hear what the staff has to say about it.
Absolutely.
Talk about the and I think that the current situation where public comment on all topics, including topics off the agenda, has been limited to 3 minutes, and it's at the beginning of the meeting, is completely shutting out the public from the process. And
right.
And I understand.
And that just recently happened within the last year, right?
Oh, it happened within the last month.
The last month.
It's increasingly been cut. And when the current mayor came in to office, he came up, one of the first conversations we had was he called me into his office, and he said, well, how do we limit public comment? And I said, well, quite honestly, Mayor, I'm not your girl, because I don't think that that's an appropriate
No.
way to behave in a
I think
democracy.
that's part of the big job description of an elected official, is that they represent and listen to their constituency.
I think so.
Listen.
And actually, I have one of the things I'd really like to do is increase it even more beyond the people that come to council meetings, because not everybody wants to sit through a council meeting. I myself took it on willingly and enjoy it, but there is an app out there that you can download on your phone, and you vote on items. So I'd like to bring it into the city of San Bernardino's process, so that if they're discussing an issue and they want to know what their constituents think, you put out hey, what do you think, A, B, C, D, or E, text it in, and at least then the council will know what their constituents are saying, and if they choose not to do what their constituents want, that's their choice, but at least
What a great
they know.
idea. What a great idea.
And the other good thing about that is, and you mentioned the previous city attorney jumping up and down in a council meeting. That can be really intimidating to people. And I've heard from a number of people that they avoid council meetings because they don't want to be attacked. And I'm not saying by him, but by people who are less than professional in their demeanor. And this would be a way that you could still at least let your opinion be known, and in a very safe environment.
So are they still televising council meetings?
They are.
They are.
Except for special meetings. And in fact, we're having 2 special meetings next week that are budget related, and I don't know if those are going to be televised. They have not generally been special meetings.
Will you make sure that keeps continuing to happen?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yes. Okay. Limiting or being there for people's convenience is not what an elected official, I believe, is supposed to do. And not everybody wants to sit through an entire city council meeting. But those people who are elected, who sign up for it, that's your job.
Right.
I believe that's your job. Now, I might go for one agenda item, or, there are some political people who just love to be down there and there all the time. But we don't run the government, our meetings, or our comments for them. We run it for the general public who has an issue about, do we want to put a fence on D Street along, whatever. I'm just picking something out of the thin air. I want to comment on that. But at the same time, I believe that, we have to do something about that too. So I don't know.
Yeah, and some people do abuse it. I mean, remember back in the day of Jeff Wright?
Oh, yeah.
I was at the Sun, and, he was problematic, and he was affecting public meetings throughout this county. And so I know that some of these limitations came in because of him. And I'm not saying limitations aren't needed. I just think that we've gone so far that people really cannot
the other
weigh
way,
in on what
well,
they
I think
think
your
is important.
technical approach is a good approach for it. And there's lots of other ideas that can come up in that, but the ability to listen. So let's talk about something positive here.
Okay.
San Bernardino has nowhere to go but up. I got to be honest with you. We have a closed
absolutely.
city hall. We have a closed convention center. We have a 60-acre mall that's closed, and they don't have the money or the ability to do anything with it. The list goes on. The Heritage Building is closed, the old Yankee Doodles. Frankly, all of downtown San Bernardino is closed, but we do have a fantastic bus line through it. So how do we change that? How do we fix that? What's your vision?
So I have a number of ideas. I think that we need to eminent domain those empty buildings that are adding to the blight in downtown, the absentee owners that are not interested in helping the city grow. Eminent domain them. We need work study spaces in that area, lofts, artists' space. We need a walkable downtown so that there is a pedestrian-friendly, bike-friendly between, say, the courthouse and clear over to whatever's going to happen with the Carousel Mall. The reason I say there needs to be live spaces down there is because once you get people in downtown after dark, it becomes less like a ghost town. The homeless are less likely to hang out there, and they will demand services. So you'll have businesses moving in, food vendors, entertainment, retail, and so I think that's key. I'd really love to see Court Street Square opened up. I mean, it's constantly locked now, and it's a public space, and we need to bring the public back into it and welcome them.
Judith Valley has had so much going as mayor. Judith Valley has had this downtown revitalization program in Main Street and Court Street and all those things, and it was really blossoming and blooming. And it's such a shame to see that slide back so far and the community cleanup days under Morris that slid back, and now under Kerry Davis, everything's locked down and closed, and I'm being a little bit partisan, but that's me, not Gigi speaking, but that's me speaking, and it's a very big shame to see that. And I don't go to city hall meetings, and I don't take public comments, but I have 4 radio stations to do that with, and so hey, here we are, and I don't mind saying it that the current mayor has done a really poor job. And I'm looking for somebody like Gigi Hanna to do something like, the economic revitalization of Route 66 or 5th Street in Mount Vernon. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'm really excited about that as a way to help revitalize San Bernardino. We are 9 years out from the 100-year anniversary of Route 66. And already there are a lot of European and Asian tourists coming to Route 66 because they want to re-experience that whole feel. But once you hit San Bernardino city limits, there's nothing that brands us as Route 66, even though we're all we're in the song. Mm-hmm. And so, HR 801 right now is in committee. Would provide funding for the revitalization of the corridor plus a quarter mile on each side of it, and that would be a significant portion of San
House
Bernardino.
of Representatives 801. That's
yes.
like the federal government.
The federal government,
Congress,
and I believe Pete Aguilar was one of the authors of that.
Great.
And it's because the route has been taken over by the National Park Service, the entire route, and so this is part of that. And they are giving money to communities that have an organized plan. And I actually have a binder that's a plan, and I've been running around with that for months. I'm sure people are sick of me talking about it. But I say we need to embrace our past, not go back, but embrace what makes us special. And part of what makes us special is the car culture and that Route 66 feel. And we need to brand ourselves.
Didn't the current regime, the current mayor's office, didn't they abolish the historical committee?
Well,
commission?
They have reimagined it as the actually they combined the Fine Arts Commission and what was the Historical Preservation Commission into one, which is now the Fine Arts and Historical Preservation Commission. And actually I think it's a good fit because a lot of there are similar interests.
So something is being done about our past, and I was so afraid when I heard about this.
Not yet. They've just created the commission. They haven't met, and
they haven't appointed people to it yet or anything.
I think there's been a few people appointed, but but they're going to have to combine it, and they're going to have to
and
have
then I got this email from Kerry
Davis
talking about auctioning off by lot,
tomorrow,
like Christ Clothes, the Carousel Mall's carousel.
Yes, I believe the auction is tomorrow.
And he was so proud of it. I'm like, you're proud of this? That's a historic piece of San Bernardino that you're just going to the highest bidder.
So, they need to make money, and it's
not
like
that
a yard
way.
sale when you're poor, and I believe me, I've been there as a student when I needed some money and I had to have a yard sale, and that's what the city's doing with its assets, and it's sad to see the carousel go. I would really love to have a group of citizens come together and buy it. I think, we have one day to come together, and a few people I know have offered up $1,000 each, but that carousel is actually worth $300,000.
Well, the mall's been closed for a year. I know because we were there.
Right.
We were there, and I won't go as far as what I'm about to say because I'm going to be nice, but we were there. We're still waiting for our check, folks, and we moved over here to Redlands, feeling very unwelcomed, by the way, to stay in San Bernardino. There was no help. Literally, just no help.
Yet another asset lost.
Well, thank you. They appointed these out-of-town consultants. One was Urban Spaces from Tustin or Santa Ana or something like that. Another one was from Riverside, and they gave us emails with suggestions of places we could move. And Gigi, I don't kid you, every single one was in Riverside or Rancho Cucamonga. It wasn't in San Bernardino. So we thought, well, what the heck, we'll just do what we can do. So very much so. That changed a lot, and our idea, and we said, well, come over here to Redlands. So, I have to put my 2 cents in. It doesn't have anything to do with Gigi, and I didn't mean to put you on there. But there's a lot of people that have complaints about San Bernardino. So the biggest thing the new mayor will have to do is kind of bring people together, make people feel good about the city again.
I love San Bernardino. I moved here in '94 to work for the Sun, and I've always said that this is a city, and the reason they hired me was to talk about sort of the downfall after the closing of Norton. So I've been looking at these issues for years. And I always said this was a city with great bones but bad self-esteem. And I mean, we're situated wonderfully. You know, we have a good freeway system coming in, and yet we have nothing for people going north on the 215, any reason for them to get off the freeway, except maybe Cal State. And I do think that district needs to have much more development.
Maybe some restaurants, you know?
Some restaurants.
Some place to go after.
You know, we have a symphony that's turning 90 next year.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And we do have a good symphony,
so we have some good stuff. But we need to keep the good things we have alive and attract some high-tech arts and other creative type of businesses here, and we're not going to do that, quite honestly, until we get the potholes filled and the street lights on, because who would, in their good conscience, open a business in San Bernardino if they were worried about the safety of their clients? And so that's key as well, is we need to take care of the bare bones things. And, you know, it's kind of a cliche in local politics. It's about potholes. Well, yes, it is. And if you've driven around San Bernardino, you know they are legion. My office had about, I think it was over 300 claims last year about potholes. We need to get them fixed.
Yeah, and the buildings in San Bernardino, when we were looking around San Bernardino, we did honestly make an effort because San Bernardino is where we'd been for so many years. And, you know, we found buildings, oh, this is a good building. It had no HVAC, air conditioning system. It had no heating, no air conditioning. There was suddenly no pipes, no electrical in the walls. It had all been taken out. It had all been stripped. There's a lot of buildings, even newer buildings in San Bernardino like that. So that's something I wanted to make you aware of to make sure that you understand, you know, what you're up against. But, Gigi, I think you've got the vision to do it. And, Gigi, I thank you for having the tenacity after what you've been through 8 years at City Hall to stand up and stand forward and come forward and run. So if people want to support you, Gigi, is there a website they can go to?
Yes, you can find me on Facebook as well. But my website is Gigi, the numeral 4, sbmayor2018.com, or just Gigi Hanna for San Bernardino Mayor on Facebook. You'll find me.
So Gigi.
There's a donate button on there too.
Oh, that's what, and you need, and you know what?
Need donations.
The mother's milk of politics and campaigns is money. Yeah.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, K292FQ Riverside, and K293CF Moreno Valley.
Right. So
say that website again, please.
Gigi, the numeral 4, sbmayor2018.com.
Okay.
All right.
All right. And do you have an event coming up or anything that you'd like to promote?
I do. I have a meet and greet event at the Green Shack on Highland.
Great sandwiches there.
Oh my gosh, I was there for lunch.
Oh, wonderful
I love
sandwiches.
Their sandwiches. So she is actually catering. She's supporting me,
Good.
Manal, lovely lady, and she is catering it for me, and it is at 1 p.m. on May 20th. So I hope you can be there.
May 20th, 1 p.m. at the Green Shack Liquor. Awesome food there. She's always made great food. I loved her sandwiches. I still do when I go there and I can have them and take that much calories in.
Have you been there recently? What she has done to that Green Shack in the last couple of years is amazing.
When I was there, they still had the travel shack. They still had the deli counter. I don't know. It's probably changed. That little building, she does so much with it. She's so creative. She's got a patio out in the back. Right. It really is a place that you can come and visit and have a real meal.
Mm-hmm.
It's
it's
all
really
things.
good food.
Yeah, it's all things. It's a lot of things. So much needed in that neighborhood, by the way. And throughout San Bernardino, we need good restaurants. We need good places to go. We need our parks to have green lawns. You know, those sorts of things. We need to have them, and it's important. Those are direct services to the people in the city of San Bernardino, and those are, you know, keeping the bones healthy.
One of the things, I don't know how much time you have, but we have a quality of life team in San Bernardino, and I keep asking people, has your quality of life improved? And it hasn't, and it's because we haven't paid attention to things like the greening of our parks and public spaces and community events in downtown. We don't have an open city hall. I mean, our city government is spread out 3 different areas right now.
Junior University. I went by. The sign at Paris Hill Park says, new location, Aquinas High School.
Yes.
Junior University has been at the Roosevelt Bowl, the Paris Hill Bowl, a lot of people call it, for as long as its inception. I don't know if they're going to have the play there this summer or they're going to do everything, but the auditions are definitely at Aquinas High School. And I was going to check into that. I used to be on the board of directors for Virginia University.
And the Roosevelt Bowl, I mean, what a community asset that is absolutely underutilized.
Absolutely.
So.
Built in the WPA era, and just, it's 1,900 seats, I believe. Beautiful bowl. It needs a little improvement. Needs a little love.
Concerts.
Yeah.
You need some performances besides Junior U.
Right. And performances the community would enjoy.
Yep.
The California Theater is great. The Symphony is great. That represents one small portion of the community. But people with vision, people who know their community, must realize that there are probably some other types of concerts that, people might want to go to see.
Well, that's one of my ideas, actually, is I'd really like to change our cabaret license so that it would be easier for local businesses to actually have live music. And we don't have that in San Bernardino unless you want to go to the cannabis shows at the Orange Show. But none of the smaller businesses can afford the process of and the cost of getting a cabaret license to bring in a band. I mean, I'd love to sit down and have dinner and a beer and
we need
be
to
able to listen
unshackle
to some
people
blues.
who want to invest in San Bernardino, and have that era or an ordinance right now that says, hey, you want to come into San Bernardino? We're going to help you.
And if you have entertainment dollars to spend, you're hard pressed to find a place to spend them in San Bernardino, and I think that's a tragedy.
Yeah.
And so they're coming to Redlands or they're going to Riverside, and they don't need to.
Well, Gigi, I'm going to have you back.
Awesome.
But I want to tell the voters that it is election time, June 5th.
June 5th.
If you have registered to vote, you probably already have registered by mail. If you haven't, register by mail, or take your ballot and fill it out. Go down to the registrar of voters. You can vote now anytime between now and June 5th. There are balloting agencies, and anywhere you want to go to sbrov.com, and you can find any number of ways you can vote. There's lots of ways to do that. You can even now go into the registrar of voters, request to register to vote, and fill out the ballot the same day. And as soon as they qualify your ballot, then they will count your vote. So there's no excuse for not voting, especially in this day and era. Don't complain if you don't vote. And it's very, very important to the city of San Bernardino. If you live in San Bernardino, make an informed choice. Make a good choice. Vote for the correct people. San Bernardino needs you more than anything, a good, informed voter who votes with their heart for the city of San Bernardino. Thank you, Gigi Hanna. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you very much.
And I'm going to have you back in the future. We need to get to know more of you. But I want to also give our good folks at Child Hop an opportunity to be able to talk about their program as well. So thank you. Gigi Hanna, running for mayor of San Bernardino, the current clerk for the city of San Bernardino. I'm Mark Westwood, on the mark with KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and 102.3 FM. We'll be right back after this.
You've been listening to On the Mark Live with Mark Westwood, a show about KCAA, the world, and you, with more to come in a moment.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, K292FQ Riverside, and K293CF Moreno Valley.
I'm so tired of the buffering on my smartphone.
I'm so over it. Next.
Right? I am so over it. Next.
A radio? Next.
No buffering, just your favorite local radio station?
Next Radio uses the FM tuner that is already built into your phone, so you can listen to your favorite stations on the go. Because Next Radio uses the FM tuner already built into your smartphone, it saves on data and battery usage. When compared to streaming audio, Next Radio uses less than 1/10 of your data, and your battery will last 3 times longer. Next Radio, it's FM radio on your smartphone.
Introducing a radio inside your cell phone. Listen to all kinds of local radio stations, including KCAA 106.5 Yucaipa and 102.3 Riverside on Next Radio. Download the free Next Radio app today. 100% free, 100% fun, 0% buffering. Stop the buffer and listen to KCAA.
Here's Replete Vegan Skincare founder Elizabeth Thoreau.
Investing in your beauty is investing in quality of your life. The secret is in Replete Spring Serum Complex. It puts elasticity back in your jawline contour for completely remodeling the effects of winter. It improves firmness. It gets rid of sagging and wrinkles. And it puts the smoothness, radiance, and freshness you want in a spring day.
RepleteSkincare.com for your skin to look and feel its best.
This segment of broadcasting brought to you by Tender Hearts TLC Incorporated. Tender Hearts, the helping hands for your loved ones, where they understand it can be difficult to find time in your already busy schedule to attend to all the needs of your aging loved one. Tender Hearts will be there for your loved one when you can't be. Tender Hearts TLC helps your aging loved ones stay in their home as they specialize in tender, loving, 24-hour service, including transportation to doctor's appointments, medication reminders, meal preparation, light housekeeping, and assistance with activities of daily living such as hygiene and grooming, orientation, and companionship. We thank Tender Hearts for their support of this station. Tender Hearts TLC, where they don't just care for your loved one, they give them tender, loving care. For more info, you can reach them at 909-528-9759. That's 909-528-9759 for Tender Hearts TLC. The Redlands Police Officers Foundation is holding their 2018 charity golf tournament on Monday, May 14th at Tuckwit Canyon. This tournament will benefit the RPOF's work for youth and the Boys and Girls Club. Check-in is at 8 and four-person scramble starts at 10. The Morongo Golf Club at Tuckwit is on Champion Drive in Beaumont. Want to pre-register? Call 909-557-6605. This is Joe Lyons. I'll see you there, and remember, together we are taking care of business in Redlands.
And now it's time to batten down the hatches, because here comes more of Mark Westwood and On the Mark Live. 3, 2, 1, Mark.
And we're back. Yeah, working our way to the 5 o'clock hour. Quitting time here in Southern California. I'm Mark Westwood with On the Mark Live on KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 and 102.3 FM. And hello, if you're just joining us, we just finished up with interviewing one of the mayoral candidates for the city of San Bernardino, Gigi Hanna, who's running for mayor of the namesake of our county, San Bernardino County, the city of San Bernardino. We wish her the best of luck. And now we're going to move to a non-political thing, sort of, kind of, so to speak. And it's called Child Help. And Child Help was founded in 1959.
Correct.
And it is an organization that helps children, and specifically foster children, correct?
Well, we serve foster children as well as adopted children.
Okay. And by the way, I'm speaking to Patricia Old.
Yes.
From the agency here. And what is your title, Patricia?
I'm the director of the foster care and adoption programs.
Okay. And say that once again, you're director of?
Foster care and adoptions.
Awesome. Awesome ability and awesome job. I have had people, many people actually in my family adopted.
Very
we
nice.
believe in adopting. We're a big family. And so my father was adopted. My brother was adopted. I just joke with him. No, he wasn't adopted. But I have a couple of people in my family that I won't name specifically that were adopted, and we treat them just like they're members of our family. We don't talk about them being adopted, but they've been since they're little babies. We adopted them when they were little babies, but specifically, it's probably easier to help get a baby adopted at a very young age, like a newborn. But let's talk about some of the older children and what the needs of that is.
Right. So at Child Help, we work with children who are referred to us through the various counties that we work with. We work with Los Angeles, Orange, San Bernardino, Riverside. And these are all children who are removed from their homes because of an abuse or neglect. And so we place them with foster parents, which are now called resource families, with the hope of reunifying them with their biological families. If that cannot happen after many services that are offered to the families, then we look to our families about adopting the children. Children of all ages are adoptable. Sometimes I hear, they're too old, but every child needs a forever family. And so that's our mission, to really find children, permanent forever families, correct.
And if I read right, 135 children?
Currently, we're serving around 80 children in our foster family agency. We have an office in Redlands and one in Hollywood. But over the life of Child Help, we've served over 155,000 children in California.
Wow, 155,000.
We'll be celebrating our 60th year next year.
The city of Redlands is about 89,000. City of Yucaipa is about 52,000. San Bernardino is like 257,000, but about half the population of San Bernardino, or the city of Redlands plus a little bit of the city of Yucaipa, the entire population That's how much you've helped.
It's a lot of children.
That's a lot of children.
Right.
Kudos, and you're doing the work of the angels.
Thank you. And kudos to our staff. I have an amazing team. There's 11 of us, from social workers to clinical coordinators to family developers, recruitment folks, placement workers who all work with these children. And kudos to our foster families who really step up and want to give these children a home. They're basically opening their hearts and their homes to children who they've never met before.
And what's the average age of the
We
child?
serve children ages 0 to 21, and our average age is
0,
probably...
so before they're born even.
Absolutely. Sometimes children are removed from the hospital and placed right into foster care. Usually children that are placed from hospitals are born because they have drugs in their system. But our average age is probably grammar school age children.
And how long are they usually in the program?
It just depends. Biological family members have 1.5 years to reunify with their children. So for families who might need a little bit more time, kids could be with us up until 18 months. Some families do what they need to do within the first few months, and so they may be reunified quickly.
Now I see this DVD recording.
Yes.
Sitting on the table called "For the Love of a Child."
Correct.
Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's an original Lifetime movie that was made about the history of child help. It's actually a very good movie. I would recommend everyone watch it. It'll show the beginnings of how child help started to the present day.
Now, is that the same DVD that we have towards the camera?
Yes, correct.
It just has a little different photo art.
Yes.
Okay, cover art. Okay, For the Love of a Child. And you can find that, where would you be able to get a hold of something like that?
I believe it's a Lifetime movie, so Lifetime channel, as well as probably bookstores. Are the child help chapters. We have various chapters throughout California. We have one here in San Bernardino, one in Los Angeles. We do have a website, childhelp.org, that will have a lot of information about all of our programs.
Yeah. So you're watching this recording. You can't call them videotapes anymore, or tapes, because they're not. There's no such thing anymore. So you're watching this DVD. What would you expect to see in it?
You'd expect to see how Child Help started. Our two founders, Sarah O'Meara and Yvonne Feddersen, actually started the organization in 1959, and I'll talk about how it started. It actually started in Japan when they were USO entertainers, and when they were in Japan entertaining, they saw some children on the streets, and they felt bad for them because they were cold and hungry, and they actually took them into a hotel room and started an orphanage in Japan. And then Nancy Reagan, when she was First Lady in California, reached out to them and asked about the problem in the States called child abuse. And so then they started organizations here. So that's how their story started.
Well, there's very much a needy cause, a worthy cause. And when I say needy, because it is, because there's always a constant need, a constant hunger for funds.
Absolutely.
Child help in itself, that you're helping children. It's a good cause.
Right.
How do people lend a hand to you? How do they help you? What do you need?
So we need monetary donations. We need donations of time and energy. Around the holidays, we give gifts to our foster youth. So donations of presents.
Gift cards?
Gift cards would be great.
Gift cards work well.
Absolutely, and the teenagers love those. May is actually National Foster Parent Awareness Month.
And just to interrupt, the reason gift cards are good, folks, is because you have older children. Not every guy in the foster program or older teen girl wants a doll.
Right.
Or a truck. That's great for little kids.
And kids love to shop. Gift cards are great.
Get a gift card. They can make that decision themselves. They can buy something themselves. They can make it and turn it towards savings as something they maybe want that's bigger, maybe an iPad.
Absolutely.
Or a computer or something like that.
Yes.
So that makes a difference in a life.
Absolutely. Yeah. Small things make big differences to children in care.
Yeah, and especially around the holidays.
Yes.
And here we are in May, and we're coming into the summer season, and very hot outside right now. But people have birthdays too.
Absolutely, and year-round we get children placed with us, new children every week. So when kids come in, we try to give them a welcome gift, a welcome basket. We usually give them a handmade blanket. So if anyone out there is a knitter or a seamstress and would like to donate blankets, we get those to all of our new kids, as well as a stuffed animal, something to kind of nurture them.
Right, and foster children have birthdays.
Absolutely.
And
just like all of us.
Just like all of us. So it's not just around Christmas time or, Easter. They need
baskets from the Easter Bunny, exactly.
Right. No, they want to have a birthday present. So there was a group, an organization in town, and I believe it was with your organization too, the Connected, that was actually gathering presents for birthdays this year. I thought that was an excellent cause.
Yes, yes.
And so if people wanted to donate, if people wanted to help, where would they go?
They could go onto our website, again, childhelp.org, and look at the various locations.
And if you can't remember that website, Google it.
Absolutely.
Childhelp.org,
Yes.
and maybe put the word Redlands behind it.
Correct.
That way it goes directly to you.
Absolutely. Yes, and can I give them my direct phone number to the office?
You most certainly may.
Okay, it's 909-335-1164. Another area that folks could really help out is that we're always in need of new foster parents. So if you've ever thought about fostering, would like some information, we'd love to have you in for an orientation. We'll tell you about the program, the requirements, what it takes to become a foster parent, because the need is definitely there. We do quite a few adoptions annually, but when children get adopted, then the beds that were available for foster children are no longer there, so we need new parents to come in.
Right.
So
you call them resource families.
Resource families. So the state of California is going through a reform, and a resource family is basically a family that can do fostering, legal guardianship, or adoption. So they're approved to do all three up front.
Do they have to be a nuclear family?
They don't.
Okay.
Yeah, so
you could be a worthy road-tested adult.
Absolutely. Just have to be 21 years or older. You have to be employed, no criminal background, have a big heart, and space in your home to care for a child.
Right. And you're not exactly adopting a puppy, so this is a commitment.
Absolutely, yes.
And sometimes you get children that have special needs.
Absolutely.
It may not just be physical,
right.
but emotional or mental.
Right. Well, and the children who are referred to us experience some form of trauma because they are taken away from their family. So just imagine if you were taken away from your family, you're going to live with a new family who you've never met. You're in a new home, in a new school, making new friends, might meet new animals in the home, new food. So a lot of changes go on for these children. So sometimes there's acting out, and which comes from just their anxiety of being placed.
I can't imagine. I was so blessed. I had wonderful parents. I really did. And they were good parents. And all their entire lives, even when they were older and I was older, they were still good parents to me. I was very, very blessed. But I can't only imagine, that you're in this situation and you're a child and you're a young tween or teen and they say you're going to have to go or you want to go because you're the children of somebody who's alcoholic or drug abuse or whatever, violence, whatever it might be, and now you put all your worldly belongings in a trash bag.
Right. And we actually address that in our training. We encourage families not to transport children's belongings in trash bags because that just says that they're worthless.
Right.
So we make sure that every child, when they're placed with us, gets a duffel bag so that if they do go to summer camp or do go on home visits, they can put their items in something that's more personable and
right. It makes such a difference.
Absolutely.
To give people their dignity.
Absolutely.
And that is done in many, many different ways, and such subtle things like that people don't think about. But I want our listeners to imagine, and the people watching us right now on Hulu or YouTube or or Twitch or one of the various Ustream, whatever, you're being watched a lot. Okay, right now. You're being watched by more people than you are on the radio right now, believe it or not. But anyway, don't feel bad about that.
Okay.
I want them to get that image in their heads.
Right.
That this is a traumatic situation, and it's something we need to pay attention to. There's so many needs in the United States, but one of them is our youth, and especially those people who are displaced without homes.
Absolutely. A lot of people in jails and homeless population are former foster youth who didn't have the opportunity to grow up in a forever home. And so we want to try to avoid that as much as possible. And I'll be honest, it's hard. It's hard to be a foster parent. There are a lot of rules, a lot of regulations, but our agency offers a lot of support 24/7, 365 days a year.
A remarkable agency.
Yes, thank you.
And, For the Love of a Child is a great, I want to say video, recording, but I'm sure you probably do events and fundraising things and things like that. Is there anything coming up you want to talk about?
Not that I know of. I know next year is our 60th Diamond Jubilee, and there's going to be a lot of events around that.
But meanwhile, you're still addressing the basic primary concerns of needs of children.
Yes.
And do you have a remarkable story you'd like to share with our listeners offhand as as I talk about, the website is Child Help. What is it?
www.childhelp.org.
Yeah, and glasses for me. Childhelp.org.
Yeah.
And as we proceed in the last few minutes of our show.
Sure. Yeah, we have a lot of success stories. Our main goal is to reunify children with their biological families, and so we have about a 60% success rate with that. So we're very proud of those statistics. And then a lot of our families have adopted children. We've had children adopted as infants as well as teenagers and young adults. So again, no child is ever too old for a forever family. One story in particular.
What happens when a child turns 18 and they're not placed?
Good question. So children can actually stay in foster care until they're 21. So that was a law that changed several years ago. I always ask folks, were you ready to leave the home when you were 18? I know I certainly wasn't. And so we can't expect our foster youth. So they're now able to stay until they're 21. They have to either be in school or working or part-time each. And so they're given a place to live and a family to mentor them, to emancipate them from the system. So kids, I think, are leaving on a much more positive note than, let's say, 10, 15 years ago.
Can kids emancipate themselves
They
earlier
can. Yeah, they can. They would have to petition the court for that.
Does that happen very often?
I've seen it happen twice. I've been doing this for about 35 years, and I've seen it happen twice.
Not the best thing for the child.
It's not, because it's a rough world out there. Things are expensive. It's challenging. So we really encourage kids. A lot of kids, especially if they grew up in the system, when they're 18, I want to get out. I want to be on my own. Sometimes they do, and then they come back because they realize that I'm not ready.
And sometimes kids go in and out of foster homes.
Absolutely.
In and out and in and out. I know one young man I talked to had like 9 different foster homes.
And we try to avoid that because placement disruptions are not good for kids. It disrupts their ability to attach and trust others. So we ask families when they come in to be a foster parent to really make sure that this is a commitment that you can make. And when we place children, we try to do matching with the family so that we make sure that the needs of the children can be met by the family.
Right. And there are special needs. Every child, every young person,
Absolutely.
every human being has special needs.
And every child is different. Sometimes kids come to us and we know a lot about their background. Sometimes they might have just been detained this morning and we don't know anything about their background. So it's, Instant, yes.
Wow.
Yes.
It's just like instant action. You got to go right into action.
Yes.
That doesn't happen at a convenient time of the day or night.
We get calls 24/7.
24/7. So you might be out there at 2 a.m. in the morning or 3 a.m. in the morning or 7:30 in the morning or 9 o'clock on Christmas Eve.
Yes. A few years ago, we had a baby placed on Christmas Eve, brand new, newborn from the hospital.
Wow.
She actually reunified with her mom about a year later and is doing well. Still keeps in contact with our foster family. So that was a good case.
What a great story. Well, Patricia Old, it's been a pleasure having you here.
It's been a pleasure being here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And Child Help is an organization based here in Redlands. Childhelp.org.
Correct.
It helps the foster youth and helps placing and helps them live and survive and connect people that can help foster children. Such a worthy need.
And if I could just add one more thing, we also have an office in Hollywood. So we service children all across the Southern California. So if you live outside of Redlands and are interested, please call us and we'll let you know if we can work with you in the area that you live.
Well, thank you very, very much for coming. Childhelp.org. For the love of a child. I've just been informed we have a couple more minutes, so we have to get something back in here.
Okay.
And do you have a phone number?
I do. 909-335-1164.
909-335-1164.
Right. And a little bit more about the movie, For the Love of a Child. It has moving stories of victims of child abuse mixed in with stories of child help beginnings. So that gives you a little bit.
And hopefully some success stories, and it'll make you feel good about it. But it also brings awareness to the public and to people who are interested in this subject. And once again, you can become a resource family.
Yes.
You become a family when you adopt a child.
Yes.
Whether you're a single person or you're married. Whether you're an older retired couple, maybe?
Empty nesters. We get a lot of empty nesters. We get some families who have been foster parents in the past and their kids are all grown and now they want to start over again. So it's never too late.
So it's never too late,
never
as
too
they
late.
say. There was
never
a movie like that years ago in the 60s called It Was Never Too Late.
Got it.
That was different, a little bit different. But, 335-1164 is the number to help.
Absolutely.
Or to volunteer or to sign up or step up.
Yes.
There's all kinds of different there's all kinds of different levels of commitment.
Yes.
And there's never too late for you to help and be there. All right. Thank you very much, Patricia
Thank you
Old.
so much again.
Thank you to
My
our
pleasure.
people from Child Help, and earlier to Gigi Hanna, running for mayor of San Bernardino. I'm Mark Westwood. On the Mark. We'll be back next Wednesday at this time on KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and 102.3 FM, the stations that leave no listener behind.
Thank you for listening to On the Mark Live, hosted by Mark Westwood, a weekly show about this station, hot topics, local motion, and the world around us. Join us next week as we hop back on the KCAA Express for another ride on the Mark.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM. KCAA Radio is proud to announce that the Tri-City Center in Redlands is our new home. We're fortunate to be located among some of